You need one, Carla. It is Mara. Okay, Miss Beach, you want to introduce one of your sisters? You did great. You did Die Hard like 4 hours.
Porque vamos a conseguir trabajo.
Okay. Your guys' guest speaker is Brenda Hickson, my oldest sister, and she is a senior project manager for Ridgemont Construction in Texas.
Sweet. So
Okay.
senior project manager.
She had to think about all that, so I
Yeah.
might as well just take over.
Yeah. Okay, freshmen, let's clap, please. Someone is introduced.
All right, for Texas.
So when she first called me a couple weeks ago, she said, "Did you come talk to my class about being an architect?" I said, "Sis, that's not what I do." I did go to school to be an architect. Went to UNL and graduated from the College of Architecture a long time ago.
Wow.
But I decided, or I realized actually, I was honest with myself by the time I was a junior year in college that really wasn't what my skill was. Although I did enjoy it, stayed with it, got my bachelor's, and then I went on to fulfill my scholarship requirements and worked for the government for a while in construction. So that is what I do now. I'm a project manager for a commercial construction company in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's where our office is located. And I work, or my company works in Oklahoma, Louisiana, definitely Texas, and we're also registered in, I believe, Colorado and I think Mexico. And I think right now we just got registered in the state of Tennessee. So we're expanding. When I joined the company, we were a pretty small contractor, but we've grown quite a bit. And I think we've got about close to 80 full-time employees now across the region. How I got into it when I was in college, or not, actually high school, in my Spanish class, one of our assignments was to draw a floor plan of our dream house. And of course, everything had to be labeled in Espanol. And my instructor thought that my floor plan was so good that he referred me to our mechanical drafting teacher, and which I've taken in. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I think I was a freshman, that was my freshman year. So I took a couple of mechanical drafting classes in high school, found out I really enjoyed it. It has nothing to do with anything that I do right now. But that's what got me started on the path. You know, sometimes everybody says, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" It's not the big picture of what you want to do. It's all these little things that open the world to you. So that's how I got started with architecture. And then from there, I rolled into construction. After I got done paying back my student loan commitments with the government, one of the primary thing that I was doing at that time is I was managing construction projects. We go out and build weird things like roads, bridges. We did demolition, blew stuff up, we built it, we blew it up, and we do it in reverse order. So that was kind of cool, and I really enjoyed that. And the best thing that I liked about my job at that time was any given day, if I wanted to, I could go get in my truck and I could go drive out and just drive around looking at jobs, seeing how they were going, marking the progress, working on the schedule, looking at the budgets. And I really liked that freedom of just, if I decided I didn't want to be in the office working, just get up, go check on my jobs. Great, right? Sun's shining, 80 degrees out. I'm going to go for a drive. See ya. Working, got paid for it. So as I got a little further along in the government career, I decided, you know, it's kind of one of those things when you get out in the real world, the better you get at something, the less time that they give you to do it, meaning you don't get to do that anymore. So in my instance, I really liked managing the projects. I like going seeing, I like putting the schedules together and overseeing the team that built the stuff or blew it up, whatever the case might have been. But as I I spent more time in that, I kind of ended up having to do more of the paperwork. And I got less time to do the things that I really enjoyed. Yes, you get paid more, but you get less time to do the things that you really want to do. So I decided, okay, my commitment's up, done it. I'm gonna go do this full time out in the civilian, the real world. So that's when I switched and started working in the commercial construction world. Now there's kind of a very defined difference about residential construction, which is apartments, homes, definitely homes fit in there. Basically anything that is like a wood frame structure versus what I do, such as this with the steel frame. And we also do some, I mean, doesn't mean that there's no wood involved, but there's a difference between residential construction and the commercial construction. So what I oversee is medical facilities, hospitals, car dealerships, shopping centers, which is this one, I think, well, it just switched. Parking garages, office complexes, all of those multi-purpose facilities, not necessarily like apartments and homes. So my realm right now is more the commercial side. Typical day, there is not really a typical day. It's not like you go to the bank, you show up at 8 or 9, and then you work till 5. My company is very flexible, especially for project managers, just because we do have jobs going on out in the field. I primarily work in an office environment, so this is my normal daily outfit. If I'm going out to jobs, I'm usually wearing jeans and my safety vest, my hard hat, my safety glasses, and boots, and of course a shirt. I wear a shirt. Yeah, don't forget that. So it just kind of varies, and I'll go in on a Monday, just kind of a typical work week or typical work month. First part of the month, I'm approving payouts from vendors and subcontractors. As we get more to the middle of the month, it's kind of a slower period. As I get to the end of the month, then I have owner billings that I'm doing, financial projections, and so forth. So there's like a project cycle, there's a monthly cycle, and then a weekly cycle, and a daily cycle. Forget about it. It's just whatever blows up, that's what you deal with. When you start a project up, that start and the end of the job is like the most intense work, because you're looking for, when you get handed a new job, so say one of the newer ones that I just got is a grocery store with a little indoor mall. It's in Austin, Texas. So when they give me the job, it comes from our estimating department. They actually went through it. They got all the subcontractor bids, put them together, and then presented that cost to the owner. If we're selected, then it goes to the project management team, which that's my part. I get the drawings, I get the whole bid book with all of the subcontractors' bids in it. I go through it and I do what we call buyout. Basically, go through all the sub bids that we received, find the ones, the best costs and the best ability to do the job for each portion, which is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire alarm, the structure, framing, millwork, flooring, plumbing, site work, site utilities, just everything from under the ground all the way up to the top of the roof to build that building, whatever it is. And then I do all the contracts for the subcontractors and get those out. I put the schedule together along with the superintendent, and that is the person that actually is out on the job site in our company, just managing the subs on the day-to-day basis, and then work that gets put into place. And then I also have an assistant project manager, and his role is to handle all the questions, we call them RFIs, requests for information, that come in, or as we go through the drawings, if we see discrepancies or things that don't match up or things that just aren't on the drawings, then he gathers all of that and gets it to the design team to get answers and gets all those little holes and gaps filled in. He also handles the submittals, which come to us from the subcontractors, and goes through them, makes sure that they meet the criteria that's shown on the documents and the specifications on the drawings, and then sends those on to the design team for review and approval. And then once they come back, he distributes them out to all the different trades that they affect for coordination. So I work for a general contractor, which means that we don't do very much of the work ourselves with our company. What our role in the whole project is we coordinate all of the trades and the owner and the architect, the structural engineer, the MEP engineers, and the city, and the owner, and all the owner's reps. And we get everybody all talking on the same page to get the thing built. We don't do very much of the actual grunt work and the hands-on work ourselves. We coordinate everybody. So with that, what do you think some of the key things that you have to be good at? Like, what are some skills that you would need in that role?
What do you think are some important classes you have to take?
Teamwork is definitely
Yeah.
one.
Who said that? Good job, Trey.
Candy.
Yeah, give Trey a piece of candy.
Whoa, bring that to candy.
Candy,
Yeah, now
see,
it's
I asked
time, right?
questions. What was the question? What are some skills or what are some things you have to be good at if you're gonna coordinate all these people, all these different groups, the owners, the architect, design team, all the different trades and subcontractors, you have city inspectors you're dealing with. What are some things that you think?
What's she doing right now?
Wouldn't you have like have
Talking.
to have a business or
Go ahead, follow.
like a business
All of
class or like a skill to work with like different businesses?
That's helpful, not necessarily a class per se, but having the, one, the confidence, two, some knowledge on a lot of different things. Even if you don't have like you take a formal class on it, but yes, knowing a little bit about a lot of different things is definitely a very helpful trait. What are some of the different, and these aren't necessarily directly construction type careers or trades, but let's just walk through like building, say a strip center or a shopping center. Okay, somebody has to go out and find the land first. Okay, could be an old abandoned one with a building there that gets torn down.
Like managing like the money.
Money, because you gotta have the money to buy the land, to build the building. So lender, banker, they're involved. And sometimes we work with them all through the job because if a lender loans out 10 million to build a building, you think he's gonna wanna come and make sure that my crew, my company is getting that stuff built right, we're using the right stuff, and when we send them a bill, that stuff's out there. So they send an inspector that might work for the bank, might work for the owner, but lending is a big one. You also have what's called the developer. They're the ones that actually go out and do the feasibility studies on the different parcels of land, whether it's undeveloped or whether they're going to redevelop it. They're the ones that find the land and decide whether or not it's going to be a good fit. There's also statistics come into play a lot because they run a lot of calculations on traffic counts for different, intersections and corners, how much traffic they think would be able to come to that site, because that turns around and turns into money. The more people you get to a site, the more chance you have of getting money. Beyond that, you've got the owners. They're the ones that own the land. You can own the building, and you can have different people that own land and own the building. So you can have multiple owners that you work with on any piece of property that you deal with. Let's see, beyond there, once you have a site and you have the money, you need a design team. There's the architects, which is what I went to school for. I'm not really doing directly now, but I work with architects every day. And I'll tell you, my degree in my bachelor's degree, I didn't go on to get a master's. All I have is a bachelor's, but I can understand better what they're trying to do and be an asset to them and bring value to their piece of what they're trying to do. Yes?
When you said like bringing the architectures, you don't use it like directly. What do you mean by that? Like, do you help with some of the stuff or just kind of?
I'm not a licensed or a registered architect because that is like being a lawyer or doctor. You have to be licensed to practice architecture. And so I don't work for an architectural firm. I don't do the actual design. I don't do, the actual draw the stuff on CAD. But because I have a background in that, I better understand what they're trying to achieve and how they go about doing their work. So it's easier for me to communicate with them. I know the language and I know, you know, they kind of have their own, every trade has their own little, what would you call it, their own little language. And so just, you know, like you said before, knowing enough or a little bit about all these different trades helps you communicate better with them. The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, the structural engineer, and the civil engineers, those are all different disciplines. And they're people that I work with on a, you know, regular basis, because once they draw up, I have to build what they envision on paper. When it comes to the actual construction, if any of you are looking to go to trade school, or if the school here starts offering like building sciences, you know, oh my gosh, you can do so many things in the realm of construction if you're more hands-on, and that's what you really enjoy doing. Because on any job, there's I'd say on average 15 different trades that I work with. The most common that you see in any of your houses: plumbing, mechanical, which is your air conditioning and heating systems. You've got framing, the masons, you have all your site utilities, which I wouldn't like doing myself, because once you do it, it's all underground, nobody ever sees it. It's like nobody knows it's there, but you know, somebody has to do it. There's people that love doing it. So you have all these different trades that's hands-on. If you don't like sitting in an office and that's just not your thing, plenty of other stuff out there in the world of construction that you can do. Also, we have city inspectors, and they are trade specific a lot of times. It depends on the municipality you're in, but if you really like, say and this is another route that you could go, if you started out in building sciences and you did the hands-on or went to a tech school, and then you were out in the field doing, say, plumbing, and you decided you really don't like that as much, you enjoy the plumbing aspect and learning and knowing about it, but you don't like being down there in the 100-degree weather in the summer, and in the winter it's kind of slow, so you don't have as much money because you're not working as much, you could go and be an inspector. So you're still practicing your craft, but you're traveling to a lot of different places and inspecting what everybody else is doing. So you're kind of like, oh my God, man, what is wrong? So you can do that too. Also, if you do prefer the office, there's my job, which you're not really doing any one thing. You're doing finance, you're doing scheduling, you're doing management, you're doing contract legal work. There's also estimating. They spend a lot more time in the office. Actually, the majority of their time is spent in the office. So if that's kind of your preference, nice air conditioned, comfortable. Have to like talking on the phone. You have to be good with technology and computers, because everything is, it's computers. That's where everything's at. Wouldn't say that construction is totally paperless yet, but it is getting there. A lot of iPads, a lot of different technology and services and apps on the phones and iPads and laptops that we use that enable us, when we go out to the job, it's all on my phone. I don't carry around a set of drawings. I pull up PlanGrid, or I pull up an app, and I use my phone. Same thing with estimating. A lot of times they don't get paper prints anymore like you used to see, walking around with roll of drawings. It's all on the computer. The takeoff's done electronically, counts for items are done electronically, it's stored electronically. So you do have to be good with computers. Doesn't mean that if you're not, or you don't like technology, that that rules it out. But even people in the field, more and more will set up Wi-Fi on the job site, and we'll have a job box with our computer and our big screen monitors in there, or the job trailer, and then everybody will just look at the screen. A lot of the photos, well, it's gone now, but we'll bring it up later. Some of the photos, we use drones. We also have a 360 camera. So it's like a selfie stick that you hold up above you, and you go and you take a picture. But when you look at it, you can scroll up, down, all the way, basically 360-degree panorama, and you can view it, zoom in, zoom out. So a lot of I would say overall construction is behind the technology, but there's another opportunity there. If you're more into technology, you can get into a lot of the companies that cater specifically to construction apps and developing those and working with that as well. Let's see. Another thing in construction, one of the things that they had on the list for us to talk about is construction going to be around for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Construction will be, but it will be a lot different. There are people experimenting with robots to completely build houses without any people. Of course, you have to have people to program the computers and to set up the models and everything. But a lot of the labor they're trying to get away from, again, it goes back to technology. That's the way assembly line work's going. That's the way, a lot of surgical stuff is going with doctors. They're getting robotic, robots now to do surgery. I don't think that construction with people will ever go away completely. There's still going to be a role for it. It's just going to adapt, just like anything else. So as the industry will still be there. You just have to be able to adapt with it. It keeps putting your computer's horrible.
It's geriatric.
Geriatric. I was gonna go through, once she gets it up, I'll go through some of the pictures we have here. The company that I work for, as I mentioned, is kind of a mid-sized company. One of the things that I really like about the company is we do a lot of things together as a group. How do I advance it?
Just the arrow down.
Okay. So this one, if anybody, if I'm in the way, just tell me. This is one of our shopping centers that's coming out of the ground, clear to the left. The light blue one, I think that is a tropical chicken store. The two on the left are like food stores. I think this is going to be a shopping center or a grocery store, either a multi-tenant or a single grocery store. And what you see here is the steel structure. We've got part of the building slab in the center board. This is the same building a little bit later on when they've got the sheathing up. So the steel workers are pretty much done. The roofers have the deck stocked and are getting to put, starting the underlayment for the decking. And then the framers are infilling the structural steel here with the light gauge or the heavy gauge metal studs, and then putting the sheathing and then the waterproofing will go over it. So the building's built in layers with different trades. A few of them start and all the underground work is done, and then the next ones come in.
Do you know how many actual groups come in, like metalworking and?
It depends a lot on the job and especially the type of finishes that go on it. Because you can have one single trade that does all the outside work, or you can have 5, 6, or 7 different trades that all work together. Say if you've got stucco and you've got metal panels and you've got masonry and glass and some others. I mean, some of these architects, they just go crazy and they put so many different things on a building that it's like somebody comes in and does like they'll do the block up to a certain height. Another company comes in and does the stone on top of that. And then they come in and do glass. And then they come in and do stucco on the sides. And then they come in and do something else. I mean, it just depends on how much or how elaborate they get on it. Usually though, just on just say a generic building, there's probably about 15 different ones is an average. A lot of people to manage. And if you like kind of not doing the grunt work or the directly hands-on yourself, but you still kind of like being out in the field superintendent is a good position. I mean, they're the ones out there every day, rain or shine, crew or no crew. If nobody shows up, they're the ones calling everybody, hey, you guys are supposed to be on site. hey, I need you guys out next week, we need to be ready to do this, this, and this. They're the ones that, once the job actually starts, it's the field superintendent's role to keep everybody, give them the heads up, get them scheduled every day. All right, this is what we gotta have done by the end of the week. Where do you need to be today? Where do you need to be tomorrow? And making sure that everybody's working in the same direction around the building, or this crew's working here, okay, then the other crew comes and works over here. They're the ones that choreograph the whole thing and actually putting it together. That's why I said once the construction gets started, my part of the job sort of kind of tapers off a little bit until we get to the end, because I'm more on the paperwork and the scheduling and the big picture. I'm looking ahead, okay, next month we're gonna need this, this, and this group here. Josh, who's my APM, do you have submittals for these guys? And you look through the drawings, do we have all of these questions answered? Have you called the painter? Have they got their stuff ordered? Did you talk to the door guy? Did he order the frames? Are the frames shipping? Did you talk to the drywall guy? Make sure he knows the frames are coming so they have somebody there to offload them. And then have you talked to the superintendent? Does he know that you talked to these people and he's got the dates? So there's a lot of back and forth, and we spend a lot of time talking amongst ourselves, the three of us, the superintendent, my APM, and myself. And then from there, we farm out, okay, who's gonna call the drywall guy? Who's gonna call the door guy? Who's in charge of calling the painter, even though he's a month out, to make sure he knows he needs to put us on the books for a month out. So there's a lot of, just
Delegation?
delegation.
Yeah.
Delegation is
You guys know what that word means?
how to delegate.
If you can delegate, do you guys know what that means?
Make someone else do the work for you.
Oh, but it's so much more. That is a good start. Delegation is a very good skill that everybody should learn. It doesn't matter. And I tell my assistant this, it's like, just because I'm assigning something to you to do, I'm gonna check with you in a week. That's key. If you delegate something, you have to follow up and make sure, one, they know what they're doing and they're doing it and they don't have questions. But that person that you give that to, maybe it's not suited for them. Maybe they need to delegate it to somebody else that is better equipped to get them the right answer, he being the right answer, and can get it for them quicker to free that person up to do something else. So, for example, Ms. Beach, she delegated her class to me today.
Woohoo!
So here I am teaching along with my youngest sis, who also did classes.
Next week, their three brothers are coming in next week.
Yeah. So in the process of that, she's been emailing and calling and texting me and saying, okay, here's the list of questions. Okay, what time are you getting here? How many classes do you want? Called me last night, called me this morning.
No, she's not busy.
She's making sure that I'm doing what she's delegated to me to do. Here's another, this is an office center. This is in South Lake, Texas, if any of you are familiar with Texas. I live between Dallas and Fort Worth, and that's where our office is. This is a concrete structure that we're doing. You see the concrete floor slabs and then all the concrete columns. And then down here at the bottom, these little C-shaped pieces,
Yeah.
those are precast pieces. That's the finish. That's going on after they do the concrete structure itself. You can see the cranes. We've got one on the other side. No, these aren't in any particular order. Okay, so back to one of the things that I really like about this company is we're kind of a big, super big family, and we do a lot of extracurricular activities together. We have a softball team, we have a baseball team, we play pickup games on some of the 3-on-3 leagues that they have in the summer downtown Dallas. And this is our softball team, one of them.
What position do you play?
I do not play softball. These people, we also send a lot of people to the hospital, especially when we play basketball. I don't know how many of our own people we have injured playing sports. We're thinking of taking up bowling, but then we figured we'd get finger sprains. This is another one of the ones that we do. Our industry, our main industry organization is Texos AGC. I think it's called AGC here, Associated General Contractors, and ABC Associated or building contractors. And this was a joint effort for SPCA down in our area. What they do is we design and build all these weird dog houses and enter them into a competition that the public judges. And then they sell these off by auction, and that's how it makes the money for the SPCA. So we've done this, we've partnered with some of the architect firms, and I think this is our third year for doing it. This was the first one we built on the first year, and we actually won.
My big dog would like that.
I think all dogs would like
Sit on
that.
top of it, too.
So, and our company lets us do this on company time to encourage it because it gives our company recognition. We partner with our architect groups and friends, and it gets, it's just fun team building. This is some of our group accepting the award for SPCA. And that doghouse, we built so many prototypes of the doghouse. Oh my gosh. This is one of our company safety meetings. We have weekly meetings on every job site, and then once a month, our company meets and goes over safety. If you look at the industry stats, construction is, I don't want to say one of the most unsafe, but it is a high hazard job. Just because we deal with confined spaces, we have cranes, you hear about cranes falling over. Just the nature of people, the power tools that we use, the saws. And when you start doing this stuff a lot, you just get used to it. You forget how dangerous things can be. I mean, I've seen some stupid stuff. People with the skill saw and they put the board on their leg and they take the skill saw. People.
That's asking for without.
That's why we have constant safety meetings. This is a job like one. And I don't know what topic I think they're doing fall protection. You can see they've got, if any of you rappel, parachute, anybody? Might recognize the harness. That's required if you're up working over 6 foot. If you're up on the top, you'll also notice the guardrails around each level with the toe picks and the safety boards, all part of the safety. And then we've got braces. So safety is it's a constant thing, but like I said, if you do something long enough, it's like if you race cars. You start to lose the hazard of it, I guess, or whatever, motorcycles, anything you do, you get used to it. So safety is a big thing. You have to keep reminding. This is another, you see a lot of the stuff in here that we do extracurricular activities. This one, we sponsored a kids, it was like a community fair thing where we had a little booth.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Habitat for Humanity, or not a habitat, this was, it's similar to Habitat. We go into houses that are in need of repair, usually elderly people that can't afford it, and we help fix them up. That one, he needed it. This one, here's a wood frame truss. As I said before, we do commercial, but that doesn't mean that it's all metal. This one actually has wood in it, but the majority of it is a steel frame. This is our company about a year ago. Not everybody's in there because we do work out of the state and out of the town, so not everybody can be there. This is a hospital we built just west of Fort Worth, Texas. It's Willow Park, Texas. This is an office building. This was one I actually built. I think it is fully occupied now. I think this one I built 2 years ago. This is another one you were asking how many trades. This has a lot of different trades on the outside with the canopies, the 3 different types of stone. It also has stucco, it has a brick. So this was one of those where once we got to the outside, there was like a lot of little back and forth of it. This also was a unique building for me, and I hope I never built another one. It was styrofoam. Yes. Technology and building materials are always advancing. Okay, well, gotta edit what I'm gonna say here about this one. So once we got the frame up, the metal framing of this one, usually we'll put like wood or sheathing, plywood on the outside because that has some structural integrity. Instead, this one had styrofoam. It was about 2.5 inches thick, and it was an all-in-one trying to accommodate new building codes for energy efficiency. And so it was supposed to be your structural sheathing, your waterproofing, your insulation, all in one. Wow. You walk by, okay, you know, you have your tool belts and you've got the guys in the field with their saws or their hammers or whatever. So you walk by it, it's styrofoam, right? Hammer swinging off to the side, kicks over, boom, there's a
No.
hole. Oh my gosh. Our poor superintendent, at the end of every day, he had his little bucket of waterproofing goop and his paintbrush, and he'd go out and he'd be waterproofing all the little holes from all the tools, somebody with the saw, you know, you turn around with the screwdriver, not thinking, hole in the building. This one was a very, very interesting building. Yes.
Does it actually work though? Like,
I have not seen, I don't think they're tracking the energy usage on this building, but I would have loved to see if it did do what they claimed. A lot of it is code. Codes are always, they're always evolving, trying to be better. And you hear a lot about, you know, like the SEER rating of your units on your house, and every so often they go up to another SEER level. What that means for you guys when you start, or your parents, if they have your house, more money. Because the more efficient they are, the more money they typically cost. But on the flip side, what they're trying to do is eliminate as many of the emissions and also not have as much energy usage. So it costs more upfront, and it's really tough, I think, to build it correctly so you don't have leaks and you don't have punctures in the building. But not enough people, I don't think, are tracking the actual usage over time to see what the benefits are. You can see a lot of data, like from Washington, you know, but they're generic. Some of the clients that I used to work with, like Texas Health Resources is one, I know they do track their usage. And even little things like in the parking garage, they changed out all their parking garage lights to LED lights, and then they were on sensors, so only like one run on the drives would stay on, and then other lights, as you walk to the elevators or you walk from the elevators to your car, the other ones would come on and off as they needed to. And they did notice a huge energy saving, mostly I think because they were using LEDs, but because they weren't burning all the time. So that, you know, energy efficiency, code development, that's a whole nother area within, you know, that kind of falls in construction that's not directly related. This is a grocery store. This one's in Denton, Texas. This is one I did also, and it has the grocery stores in the center, and then the two side wings are retail buildings designed for up to 5 on each side. I think right now they've got 2 tenants on the left, and they've got their final and 4th tenant going in on the north. This project here, I think it was in permitting for a year. And when we got started, we still didn't have permits. So they divided up permit. What that means, before you can build a building, there's a lot of regulatory things that you have to meet. They decided, because you don't make money unless you've got income coming in, and so the owner needed to get it going. So they worked some deals with the city, and we got partial permits, one to do the site work, one to do the building. And it turned into quite a rough ride because we essentially built the building backwards from the way the city wanted it. So it was fun.
How much is something like that, like in price, like how much would it cost to build something like that, like with your job and all these others?
What's the most expensive project you've had to deal with?
The most expensive one was the Enron Tower, 42-story skyscraper in Houston, and it was, I don't even know because I left right before it was several $100 million just to build it. That one, though, a lot of the cost was in the concrete because Houston, if you know where Houston's at, is like pretty close to the ocean, so the water table's pretty high. And there's also a lot of tunnels, as in a lot of cities connecting, you know, different parts of the city underground and the infrastructure underground. But we had to pour the slab, the foundation of that was basically this huge concrete monolithic slab that just floated. And they did a 3-day course, round the clock, 72 hours nonstop to pour the concrete for that slab. It was so thick,
Just the base of it?
just the base and the ground. We brought in our subcontractors brought in truck drivers, cement truck drivers from, I think, 2 other states. Just because Department of Transportation, doesn't matter what state you're in, they put limits on how long truck drivers can drive. By the way, there's another very essential part of construction. Truck drivers, short trip haulers, hotshot drivers. But because we were going 3 days nonstop, we had to have the plants, and I don't know how many concrete batch plants they had set up to run. Essentially, we also had the police department, we shut down roads, we had to block off, because this was downtown Houston. So that planning took over a month just to get coordinated, the direct planning. And then all the drivers and all of the logistics that went with that one. So that one, there's no such thing as same job over. I have a lot of repeat customers. Some of the ones in here are, well, Sprouts is one of them. It's a grocery store also. They build them across the country. None of them are the same. They look the same, but if you're building them, none of them are the same. Here's another one. I've done 5 of these emergency rooms. They're standalone emergency care facilities. And they have, I think, 5 basic prototypes, which means there's 5 floor plans that they use. None of them are ever the same. So you never, ever, ever, ever build the same building. And another grocery store that we did, this one's in Richardson, just north of Dallas. This is, okay, remember there was the concrete building and then the C-shaped forms? This is the finished version of it. So you can see, this is kind of the same angle. You can see the column covers down here, and then all of that concrete got covered up with brick and cast stone, and I think they might have some stucco at the very top, and then glass. This was a pretty big glass job because it was specialty glass. I don't know how much the glass package was, but it was, I think, over 100,000, several hundred thousand just for the glass on this one. Here's that little house that we were helping paint. This is, there's kind of a tradition when you get to the topmost part of a building, they have what is called a topping out ceremony. And the tradition used to be you put a Christmas tree on the top. I've actually had one topping out that was close enough to Christmas that we did a whole lighted Christmas tree on the top of the building, which is kind of cool if you're into Christmas. But a lot of times, especially on the bigger projects, they have a ceremony with the dignitaries and everything. And this is one of the interior finish outs that we've done. This was a combination research facility, rat lab was what I called it, for eye doctors. And then they also, this was the patient part because they did treat patients also. I don't have any pictures of the rat lab.
What was the picture before that?
This was receiving the award for this facility, which was the Willow Park Hospital. This one.
Nice.
Just different view. So if construction or trades or building, or any of that, is interest, there's a lot of different things within the world of construction that you could get into. And it's not exclusive. I mean, I also deal with residential, which is kind of my hobby, I guess, because it's what I do on the side. This is my career. But I also buy and fix up residential, which is a whole nother world onto itself. And some people, that's all they do. High-end, high-end homes. They can do just run-of-the-mill. They can do tract homes. They have residential developers. So construction, there's so much in the field of construction. If you're into, if you love, for example, if you like being on the road, but you want your own business, you could be a hotshot driver. I mean, I've got a few, I don't use them very much, but all they do is they take orders to move stuff from one place to another, just direct route. I mean, there's just so many different things that in construction that you could do if that field interests you. Does anybody have any questions about any specific things in construction?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very stressful, 1 being laid back, easygoing, what would you give your job?
My job right now?
Yeah.
20.
All right, here's the down and dirty.
Okay.
Doesn't matter which job, which industry you're in, if you want to get promoted, you want to move upward, the higher up you go, the more money you can make, but the more of other people's things you're gonna have to deal with and clean up. Like I said, our company, my job, I don't do any of the hands-on work, but it's all my responsibility. So that means anybody that screws up, it's my fault. That's the way the world works. That's why you see CEOs that make $1 million. They get it. They can have it, 'cause I don't want that stress. So with that in the scale, mine's about a 4.
Yeah, there you go.
But, you know, there's a lot of opportunity. And if you like to work with your hands, you've got that. You can do that. Just remember, unless you can figure out a way to make that process flow smoothly, you're limited on how much you can make by how many hours in the day, unless you can delegate. There's that word again. If you use your mind, money can be unlimited. But again, you can't do it all yourself. You have to delegate. You have to know how to pick people that can help you do what you want to get done in the world. You have to bring value to other people. And never quit learning, because everything always changes. Everything changes. Even the stagnant world of construction that's been around since the pyramids. Look how much has changed and how much hasn't. So you have to be open. You have to always be learning. It doesn't mean that you have to go to school. That's not what I mean. You have to pay attention to what's going on. You have to read or listen and learn from others. Be always willing to learn from others.
Anyone else have questions?
This isn't a construction crowd. These are smart people.
They are, they're a great group. Did you guys listen to the ones from our career pathways on Adam Street? We have construction welding. You know, they talked about OSHA, our guys and gal that was on our panel are certified now in OSHA, right? Was that right?
I don't know, I wasn't there.
Okay, well. Okay, so do you guys follow OSHA as
Yes.
well?
I'm 10 hours certified. Most of our supers are 30 hours.
Motion has to certify us too. They have to inspect our
They
buildings.
have to certify you guys as well?
They have to inspect our buildings.
Wow, did not know that.
OSHA has a lot of different divisions and chapters, subsections, I guess. So like if you're in manufacturing and you're a process manager or a project manager in an industrial manufacturing line, OSHA pertains. I mean, OSHA's there to protect the people from getting too complacent in what they're doing.
Have you ever done like a job outside of Texas?
Yes, Memphis Convention Center. And well, before, the company I was with before Richmond, was out of Bethesda, Maryland. And I started in their Dallas office, so most of everything I've done has been in the South.
Adrian just moved here from Texas.
Yeah. Austin. Yeah.
And before that, it was Florida.
Florida, we had an office.
Bye, you guys. That was great.
Guys, grab some